am Usnavi, and you probably never heard my name. Reports of my fame are greatly exaggerated.
I'm coming back home with my eyes on the horizon. It won't be long now.
It's Benny, and I'd like to mention I'm on the microphone this morning. Honk your horn if you want it.
Hi everybody, it's Wednesday. I said this last year, but apparently November is the month in which I talk about musicals. 2 years ago I talked about Lin-Manuel Miranda's smash Broadway musical Hamilton, but Hamilton was not Lin's first Broadway musical. It really wasn't even his first Broadway musical about an immigrant coming to America with big dreams and lots of energy. When Lin was still in college, he began working on a musical based loosely on his experiences of living in Washington Heights, a neighborhood just north of Manhattan, which has housed its fair share of immigrants. Over the next few years, the musical developed into a more cohesive story with fleshed out characters and multiple points of view. Sound familiar? In the Heights opened at the Richard Rodgers Theater on March 9th, 2008. It ended up winning 3 of the 13 awards it was nominated for at the Tonys that year, and it was nominated for the 2009 Pulitzer Prize for Drama. In the Heights tells the story of a handful of second-generation Latinx immigrants over a 4-day stretch of the hottest days in New York. The story focuses on identity, legacy, hopes, dreams, love, pain, grief, fear, family, etc. Again, sound familiar? Lin-Manuel himself played the narrator of the story, the character that at the beginning and the end of the musical is the purveyor of events, Usnavi, because of course he did. Usnavi's parents came from the Dominican Republic when he was just a baby, and on the day that they come into America, they pass a US Navy ship, which is where they get his name from. Unfortunately, Usnavi's parents pass away not that long after immigrating, and he's basically raised by one of their neighbors who he calls Abuela Claudia. Of course, she's not actually his abuela, but she may as well be. Usnavi now runs the corner bodega that his parents opened, desperately trying to keep the family business afloat in a neighborhood that is slowly seeing gentrification take hold. He longs for the day when he can afford to close the bodega and fly to the Dominican Republic to really feel at home. And he's also got a huge crush on my favorite character, Vanessa. I don't blame him. Karen Olivo, who recently played Angelica Schuyler in Chicago's Hamilton, originally played Vanessa, a young woman who is desperate to escape her current situation. Her mother is neglectful and possibly alcoholic. The men in her life treat her like an object, and she doesn't make enough money to support herself because she's busy supporting her mother. She works at her friend's neighborhood salon, which is closing soon to move to a more affordable part of town, and she's trying to save money to hopefully move out of the Heights and make a better life for herself. One of Usnavi's childhood friends, Nina Rosario, was originally played by Mandy Gonzalez, who is currently Angelica Schuyler on Broadway. At the start of the musical, other characters are eagerly awaiting Nina's arrival from California. She's been going to school out at Stanford, the first in her Puerto Rican family to go to college, but she's nervous to return home because she dropped out. Her father owns a cab company, but school is expensive and she became overwhelmed working 3 jobs to afford classes and books. She doesn't want to let anyone down, but she learns quickly that that might be inevitable. Usnavi's best friend Benny tries to show his support and make Nina really believe in herself again. Speaking of Benny, Christopher Jackson originally played the only main character not explicitly of Latinx descent. Benny is a young man looking for some direction in his life, and actually, he knows what direction he wants to go in, just not how to get there. He works for Nina's father driving taxis, but he wants to go to business school. If only he could afford it. Out of the 4 main characters, we comparatively know almost nothing about Benny's backstory except that he went to school with Usnavi and Nina. What we do know is that he's suave, he really likes Nina, and that he tends to show his emotions even when he doesn't seem to want to. These 4 characters lead us through a few days in the life of what it's like in Washington Heights. They each want something that they don't have: freedom, money, an education, and a life outside the confines of the barrio. And Usnavi and Nina and possibly Vanessa are second-generation immigrants. We don't get to see Usnavi's parents on stage because, well, they're dead, but we do get to see him interact with Abuela Claudia, who herself is a first-generation immigrant. Abuela looks out for Usnavi, sharing what little she has with him, and then the fortune that she comes upon later in the musical. She even shares her hopes and dreams with him because essentially they are all each other has. What's interesting about Usnavi's story is that although his parents came to the US looking for a better life for him, He longs to return home, to their home, to find an island paradise for himself. He feels disconnected to the idea of home because to him, it's wherever his parents are, even in memory. And, you know, because struggling to find the bright spots in your community can often cause you to try to find something better, at least until you realize that what you have is enough. It's not always the case, but it does happen. Vanessa isn't looking to redefine home. She's looking to straight up find it, somewhere with a more stable living situation and an opportunity for her to prove herself. She struggles in the barrio to set herself apart from the other women in her life, and god damn it, she just wants to be treated like a person. Vanessa wants what any young adult wants, to see something outside of her corner of the world, to experience life, and to be respected for who she is. Nina is unsure of what and where home is because she's unsure of who she is. Is she the smart girl that kicked ass in high school to get into Stanford? Or is she the colossal disappointment that she feels she is because she couldn't keep up with school and work? Is she defined by her actions or the effort she put into those actions? She has lots of questions and no answers until her friends help her figure things out. And maybe Nina doesn't know everything, but she's proud of who she is and is thankful for the sacrifices that her family has made for her. Usnavi, Vanessa, Nina, and Benny all want to be better. They all want lives that first-generation immigrants dream of giving their children. And in a way, they have those lives, especially when they come around at the end of the musical and realize that they have each other, their neighborhood, and a community that is proud, vibrant, and determined to thrive. I don't think that this is the only way to interpret this musical. I think that you can watch and listen to In the Heights and see so many different types of stories that are so beautifully packaged together, gifted to us by Lin and his team. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. In the comments below, let me know what your favorite part of In the Heights is, or who your favorite character is, because I mean, I've already said that Vanessa is my favorite. I love her to pieces. One other little announcement that I have just been forgetting to make is that I made a Ko-fi page, which is essentially kind of like Patreon, but instead of tiers of support, you just buy me cups of coffee, and they're only $3 a piece. You can donate as many cups of coffee as you want. You can do it once. Unlike Patreon, there's no sort of monthly donation. I would really appreciate it if you considered donating. If you don't have the means to do so, I totally understand. If you have the means to share my Ko-fi page, I would be also very grateful for that. The link is in the description, so you can go and find that there. But otherwise, if you're not already subscribed to The Princess and the Scrivener, please do so down below, especially if you'd like to see more videos on Disney, intersectional feminism, pop culture critiques, and more. The Scrivener will see you next week. Okay, so I know that I look kind of fancy from like the top up, but I'm wearing Harry Potter leggings.